Today we're wrapping up the body dynamics series with the last two body actions, lifting and dropping. Lifting is the action of taking that direction of energy from down to up. So for example, that could be a rising block or a rising elbow. Ideally, I would use this body action against someone who's taller than me. Dropping is the action of taking the direction of energy from up to down. So say I take that person down to the ground and I drop my body weight. So for you beginners, a common place you'll see lifting and dropping together is in the fourth action of hand showdown. So I'm from here, downward block, right leg forward, right arm, downward block. So as I lift now, I bring my feet up, but notice that I don't give away pressure to the floor. I don't just stand up. I'm still feeling heavy to the floor. Then lifting up, down. So as with every other body dynamic, we have to remember good form, good pressure, all those same principles we've been going over in the series. That being said, I feel that dropping is the easier of the two to develop an understanding with your body. Reason being, with lifting, a lot of times where we go to lift, right, a lot of times our energy will completely leave the floor. Yes, I am moving this direction of energy, but I still must maintain that pressure. So that is something that takes a little bit of time and practice to develop. So since lifting and dropping is a bit of a shorter subject for today, I thought we'd just go overall a little bit more in depth on body dynamic overall. Remember that body dynamics are the external movement of our body in space. There's one little extra piece to the puzzle we have to include yet, and that's that we must connect our limbs to our center. When talking about our body center, we're referring to the muscles surrounding our spine. When teachers in class tell you to find your center, they'll usually use this guide, 3 finger widths below your navel. Conveniently so, that's typically where we're supposed to tie our belts. So the knot, or notch here, sits right at that position, 3 finger widths under the navel. So it's not right on the surface. I want to think 3 finger widths under the navel, but then a little bit into the body. So without this connection to center, our body dynamic is only going to be just the external movements. We still have to have this inner connection. A lot of times we'll talk about muscle contraction and expansion. We'll go over that in more depth in time. So in the meantime, while you're training your body dynamics, it's a really good habit to get into, just whether you're working your kihon or your kata, to now look at which dynamic you're using for each technique. Every technique is always going to be using one of these 6 dynamics. Let's go over the 6 really quick. Shifting, rotation, vibration, pendulum, lifting, and dropping. In any given technique, we could use one of these techniques or a combination of them. I'll go over that with hand showdown to show you. So right off the bat, we already have a combination of 2 of the body dynamics. Right away, you're going to see rotation, but we don't always think of this in our first action in the kata, but we're actually dropping a little bit. Notice how I soften my knees and drop my center. And there is a little bit of vibration in there too. Just remember, when you're doing your body dynamics in your kata, there is an order. So we have to think the biggest move first, and then stack the smaller move, and then the smallest move on top. So in this case, dropping, bigger action, and a little bit vibration. Then the next move, I'm going to be stepping and rotating. So stepping will be first, followed by the rotation. Same thing going the other way, squeeze the center. Notice that I'm not forgetting that I have pressure to the floor and that I'm breathing and I'm connected. Then the next one we just went over, lifting, drop. And then again, step. So just take your time, go over in your kata. You could start out with hand showdown, just to help you get familiar with all the dynamics. The only one missing in hand showdown will be pendulum, obviously, because we don't do any kicks. So whether you're using your body dynamics in your kata, kihon, or in self-defense, you want to think about what dynamic is going to work best in which situation. So if I'm stepping or shifting, obviously I'm using that to take up the space. So if I need to gain ground or I'm too far away. If I am a lot closer with someone, close range combat, I'm going to be thinking either just rotation or maybe even vibration, depending how close I am. You'll notice as you're training these body dynamics that the bigger the action is, say it's a step punch, we're going to generate more and more power. But if we're in a smaller space, it's going to take more time and training to develop that same kind of power in that small space. So if I'm using vibration, it's going to take some time and training to develop that. So hopefully you found this series useful. We are going to build on it more as time goes on, and hopefully it'll become useful to you as a resource later on when we get back to having classes again. It'll be really useful that way, I think.